Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'd really like to say thank you so much for anybody who is watching this, who's taking the time to watch my videos, and who's joining me live. I truly appreciate it. So today I want to talk about healing trauma. I had an incident this week, and I mentioned in the past that I am seeing a mental health professional because of PTSD and some other issues that keep coming up for me. One of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to heal trauma. There was a lot of traumatic things that happened to me in my life. And there are things that happen that trigger that trauma. And I came across a post this week, and I posted it on my Facebook and on my Instagram and on Pinterest and on Twitter that says, I have to read it. So it says, you can't heal from trauma while you're in an environment which feeds the trauma. And there are things that happen to me that trigger me and that cause me to feel traumatic, to feel traumatized, to feel anxiety, to feel a lot of different things. One of the things is, my feelings of worthiness. And this event that happened, it really made me question my worthiness. So, I set boundaries. And when I set clear boundaries and I say, look, this is my boundary and I want you to respect that, and somebody continually refuses to respect that boundary, it makes me feel like I'm not valued because I am setting the boundary. You're not respecting the boundary. And because you don't respect my boundary, you don't respect me. Why don't you respect me? Because you don't respect me. I start to question myself, my self-worth, my value. What is it about me that you can't respect my boundary? What is it about what I do that you can't respect my boundary? What is it about what I say that you can't respect me, my feelings, my thoughts? And so I had a meeting with my therapist this week, and I told her about this incident. And she's like, you really kind of need to think about what it is that is specifically triggering you and how you can reframe it so that it doesn't trigger you anymore. Because every time this person, who is unfortunately a part of my life that I cannot get rid of without something significantly bad happening, I am allowing this person to have some sort of control over me. So every time somebody does something that pushes my buttons, that does something that really drives me insane, by allowing them, to drive me insane, I am giving them power. I read a really cool book. Actually, I listened to it. It's really, it's a Christian book, and it's based on Christian values. But I found a tremendous amount of value in listening to it. And it's called People Can't Drive You Crazy If You Don't Give Them the Keys. And there was a lot of stuff in that book that I listened, as I was listening to it, that really resonated with me and really helped me through a few things. But, along the way, like I listened to that book last year sometime, you forget, right? You forget the lessons that you've learned, and, situations repeat themselves. And so if you're in an environment, if you have traumatic experiences, or there's things that cause trauma in your life, and you're continually in an environment that feeds that trauma, you can't heal. You just can't. And if you're in an environment where you're experiencing traumatic, events, and you're experiencing anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, whatever it is, and you can't leave that situation, you can't dissolve yourself from the situation, you can't divorce yourself from the situation, what you can do is shift your thinking. You can shift your thinking, you can shift your thoughts, and you can shift how you act and react to the situation. And so after journaling and really giving it a lot of thought, after this situation happened and speaking to my therapist, I have decided that, when this situation happens again, because unfortunately I know it's going to happen again, because this person has absolutely no respect for me whatsoever and never has. not in 20 years, has never given one iota of respect for anything that I say or anything that I really want. So I know that this is going to happen. And yet, even though I know it's going to happen, when it does happen, it still drives me crazy. So I have decided, and this is the thing, I have decided that whenever this situation happens again, that I am just going to ignore it and I am going to push back. So when this happened this time, I did not push back because I don't want to have anything escalate and I don't want to cause any conflict. But sometimes you need to cause conflict, because if you don't really, really stand your ground and you don't push back, then people are just going to walk all over you. They're going to think that they can just push your buttons and you're just going to deal with it and everything's going to be okay and they're going to get their way. And I'm to the point now where I'm just done with it. I'm completely fed up with it. And I'm not going to do it anymore. And not only am I not going to deal with it anymore, I am also not going to allow this situation, because like I was fuming after the situation for days after it. So this happened on Saturday and I had my meeting with my therapist on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, I was still pissed because I just couldn't believe it happened. And, you know, again, it's like the whole, I refuse to see the world as the way it is, or I refuse to accept the situation for what it is. And because I'm refusing to accept the world for the way it is, and the situation for the way it is, and this person for the way they are, even though I know this is how this person is, I am the one that was truly getting hurt by this, because my anger made me not sleep very well. I had really, you know, irritated stomach. I ended up with a headache. You know, I was making myself sick with these feelings of fear, doubt, rejection, anger, frustration, and all these things that you deal with whenever, you know, somebody does something that causes you, you know, to have a traumatic, you know, event. So what I've decided to do again is to, you know, I'm just not going to do it anymore. I am going to remove myself from the situation as much as possible. And if it happens again, I'm just not going to keep my mouth shut. I am just going to, you know, and honestly, even keeping my mouth shut, like this person that I'm dealing with is a narcissist. And every time I say something, it gets twisted into, you know, I'm the bad guy. But even though the words get twisted into making me out to be the bad guy, I still have to speak up for myself. I have to stand up for myself. And I have to let it be known publicly that I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to tolerate it. And, you know, it's unacceptable behavior. And it's absolutely within your right to tell someone that their behavior towards you is unacceptable. And maybe if you let them tell, you know, understand that, you know, what they're doing is making you feel frustrated. It's making you feel sad. It's making you feel angry. They might, you know, if they're a nice, good, compassionate person, if they're not a narcissist, they might actually listen to you and really think about what they're doing. Unfortunately, a lot of us deal particularly with parents. I mean, parents are terrible for this. They really, really, you know, they make you feel terrible. They try to give you these huge guilt trips, you know, oh, I can't believe you're not coming for the holidays. How dare you not come over? Oh, I can't see the children. How could you do this to me? Not let me see my grandchildren. And they try really hard to guilt you into doing what they want, because they know that they can use that to manipulate you. And you can't let that happen. So, you know, trying to remove yourself from the situation as much as possible is the best thing to do. And then if you can't remove yourself from the situation, limiting your involvement is, you know, a really, really key thing. So this person that, you know, triggers me, I don't respond to her text messages. I don't reply to her emails. As soon as I see that there's one there, I just delete it immediately and I forget about it. Same thing with the text messages. Voicemails, I delete. So I don't even respond. Like, I don't even let that be a part of my consciousness. And then I just move on to something else. But unfortunately, when this person's right in front of you, it's really hard to ignore them sometimes. I try as hard as I can, but if I'm the only one there and I have no choice but to interact, then, I have to do what I have to do. And I need to make it clear that these are my boundaries, and I'm expecting you to stick to it. And, that's pretty much the easiest way to remove yourself from a traumatic situation. And I know I make it sound really easy, but it's not, because this relationship that I've been removing myself from, I mean, I've had to do this over a 15-year period. And it's like pulling, I'm trying to think of a really good analogy. But like when you get something like that's stuck really deep, like if you get a splinter that's like stuck really deep in the skin and you go to pull it out, and then you pull it out, but it splinters off inside of your fingers. Then, you've got little splinters of the splinter in there. And then so that's kind of how this situation has been for me. Me extricating myself from this relationship is, I pull like as much as I can out, but I still have little things like, holidays and, these other things that happen where I'm forced to interact with this person. And so those are like the little splinters. And as I can, throughout the years, I pull out another little piece of splinter. So I'm, removing, okay, so, used to be these many holidays. Now it's, these many holidays. And so I'm just kind of slowly removing myself as much as I can from the situation. And honestly, like you don't owe your family anything. You don't owe your parents anything. You don't owe your spouse anything. You don't owe your children anything. Yes, your children you are responsible for until they can care for themselves. But once they're able to care for themselves, it's your responsibility to make sure that they are set up to be able to take care of themselves. And it's not your job to make sure that you're supposed to raise capable adults. And a lot of children will guilt parents into, like, if you don't help me with this, I'm gonna lose my house, or I'm gonna, not be able to pay my bills. My electricity is gonna be shut off. I know someone who was being financially abused by her son for years. And he just kept guilting her into doing all these things. He had a drug problem, and she knew he had a drug problem, but she wouldn't really admit it. So, she became an enabler. And that's kind of what it is. You have this codependent relationship, and, you become an enabler in the situation. So every time somebody calls and says, hey, you need to do this, and you say, okay, because they're threatening to commit suicide, they're threatening to do something rash, and you feel guilty, like, oh my God, if I don't do this, then this person's going to do, but you don't owe them anything. And, I say this all the time. I love my family dearly. I really do. But I've had to remove myself from a lot of my family because a lot of the relationships in my family were toxic, very, very negative. Lots and lots of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and blaming and not willing to accept responsibility for anything in their lives. And I have owned every part of my life. I have accepted every part of my life. I have accepted responsibility for everything that I've ever done. And I've worked hard to really heal and to make myself whole. And throughout that, I've learned to understand that not all these people are meant to be in my life forever. They're meant to be here to teach me a lesson. I've learned that lesson. And now I need to learn how to fix myself. And then after fixing myself, I am moving on to bigger and better things, brighter pastures, meeting new people, making new friends, having new family, new friends that are like family. I mean, I have friends that are more like family than my actual family is, because I know I can count on my friends to help me anytime I need help, but I know I can't count on my family. So there's, a lot of things that are in our lives that aren't truly meant to be in our lives forever. And I know a lot of people have a problem with, saying, I can't just cut my mother off. I can't just, cut my father out of my life. I can't just stop talking to my children. And honestly, if they are making your life hell, if they are making you feel angry, if they're making you feel sick, if they're making you feel sad, if they're making you feel resentful, if they're making you frustrated, then you absolutely owe it to yourself to do whatever you can to minimize contact with them, because they know that they can get whatever they're looking for out of you, and they can guilt you, and they can manipulate you, and they can twist everything around and make you feel like a horrible person because you're not bending over backwards and, giving them the world on a silver platter. And it's not your responsibility. It's their responsibility to get themselves the world on the silver platter. It's just the way it is. And unfortunately, we live in a society where it's been normalized that this is what you're supposed to do, when really it's not. I mean, I got into an argument with somebody the other day, and some of you may or may not disagree or agree with me. And honestly, I don't care, because it's the nice thing about the world that we live in is everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And the saying, opinions are like a-holes, everybody has them. So we got into an argument because this guy says that, everybody is entitled to food and water and shelter. And I was like, no, like our founding fathers, like all it says that we're entitled to is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The only things that are absolutely guaranteed in life are death and taxes. And only one of those is optional. You might get away with the one that's optional, like not actually participating in it. You might not. But everything else you have to work for, and you really do have to work for it. And you have to work for, making yourself happy. It's not just going to happen. And there's a lot of people that say, the grass is always greener on the other side. No, the grass is greener where you water it. And if you see someone else's grass is greener, maybe it's because they're paying more attention to it and they're spending more time on it and they're cultivating it. If you want your grass to be greener, don't look at somebody else's grass and go, man, I really wish my grass was that green. Look at your grass and say, what can I do to make my grass greener? Where can I start? Can I start weeding around the edges? Okay, so start weeding around the edges so that the grass can grow. Okay, well, weeding around the edges is cutting out some of this dead weight. Aerate the soil. Aerating the soil is removing more dead stuff from your life. Dead stuff, dead relationships, dead friends. And I'm not saying like dead, like dead, but like if you have one-sided relationships and you're doing all the work, you're the one that has to call, you're the one that's, going to visit, you're the one that's doing all the legwork. That's a dead relationship. If somebody only calls you when they're bored and they know that you're going to be around and you'll not take the call, that's a dead relationship. And you need to just get rid of those people. I don't care how long you've known them, how much you care about them. If you are the one that's doing all the work, then they obviously don't care about you. I mean, I've had so many one-sided relationships. It's not even funny. I mean, I try to meet new people and cultivate relationships. And if I don't get a give and take, and that's what a good relationship is, it's give and take. Yeah, okay, maybe you send 3 messages in a week and they send 2 messages. Well, at least they're, initiating. If you're the one that's always giving and they're the one that's always taking, then it's not a good relationship and you need to just cut it out. If you're in a marriage that's like that, if you're in a relationship with a partner that's like that, if you're in a relationship with a family member that's like that, you really need to just get rid of them. Start watering the grass. Okay, well, watering the grass means nourishing. Nourishing means vitamins, minerals, nutrients, exercise, good food, good rest, minimizing stress, all of these things that can be done by getting rid of some of this dead weight and taking better care of yourself. So removing yourself from the traumatic experience or the traumatic environment, and then starting to do things to help cultivate self-care are vitally important for you to survive. So, taking care of yourself, because honestly, you're the only one that's going to really care about yourself. No one else is going to care about you as much as you should care about yourself. Honestly, that's just the truth of it. No one else is going to care about you as much as you should care about yourself. Because if you're on a boat and it's going down and there's a life raft that can only have one person and there's you and one other person, you think this person really cares about you, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to be the one that's going to try and get on that life raft, and they're going to say, sorry about your bad luck, but it's your time to go. And so that's kind of how you get on an airplane, first thing they tell you is put your own oxygen mask on first. Why? Because if you can't breathe, you can't help anyone else. You can't survive. You just can't. So, you need to make sure that you're doing what you can to take care of yourself. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I started working out. I had taken some time off because of COVID. They've opened the gyms back up, but I went into my local gym, and they are requiring people to wear masks. And I went in to cancel my membership and saw people on the treadmill and on the ellipticals wearing masks. And I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't. So I would rather work out at home where I know I'm, can be mask free, and I can work out without having either an anxiety attack or an asthma attack. And that's kind of where I am. So, I'm doing things to take care of myself. I started journaling. I haven't really been very good about journaling on a regular basis. So I started journaling more and just making it a practice. So, like, I set a goal every week. I want to work out these many days. And if I reach that goal, I'm going to reward myself with a nice hot bath, which I really enjoy. Maybe you enjoy something else. Maybe you're going to reward yourself with a cup of coffee, or, go to Starbucks, or, getting your nails done, or having your, whatever, pedicure or massage or whatever. So doing these things to really take care of yourself, eating better, sleeping better. One of the goals that I'm setting for myself too is to make sure that I'm in bed by a certain time. So, because I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and if I stay up till 10 o'clock at night, getting up at 4:30 in the morning is really hard. So making sure that I'm in bed at 8 and that I'm asleep by 9, or at least the lights are out and, I have my eyes closed by 9, that really will help me to ensure that I get a really good night's sleep, so that I can get up at 4:30 in the morning, limiting the amount of time I'm watching television. I used to have limits for television, and then kind of COVID hit, and, you're spending more time at home because you're at home, right? So, I spend a lot of time outside, but then when you're inside, you just watch TV. So I've started to limit how much time I'm actually watching television, because watching television, for a really long time is really not good for you. So, doing these things to, take care of yourself. I wrote a whole book on it. There's all these things that you can do. There's 30 different things in my book. I'll put a link to the book in the comments in the description. 30 different things that you can do to nourish mind, body, and spirit. And so I really need to work on following these and making sure that I'm doing things to keep myself from these situations. And if I can't limit the interactions that cause me to have anxiety or, whatever, to try really hard to practice mindfulness and not allow them to make me feel angry or resentful or even question my worthiness, because that's the worst. Like when you really can't, you feel like, what is the point of me even being here if nobody's going to listen to me, right? If nobody's going to, care about anything that I say, if nobody values what I'm saying, it really makes you value your worth. And, I really need to minimize that and reframe the way I think. So next week, I want to talk a little bit about killing ants and, slaying dragons. So we will see you, next week. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube and you found this to be, value, I, just ask you to give it a thumbs up and, subscribe for more content. If there's something that, a traumatic event or traumatic relationship that you're in, that you really struggle with, trying to figure out how to actually get away from it or how to slowly remove yourself, put a comment on the video and let me know. I'm happy to answer comments anytime anybody comments. I'll answer. You can find me on Facebook and send me a message. I'm happy to chat via Messenger and, let you know what I think or how I think you maybe should handle it. And if I can't help you, I'll recommend that you, seek, a professional who can. So, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here with me and for listening to all of my verbal diarrhea. I know sometimes it's a little hard to get through 26 minutes of me talking about my problems, but honestly, it's the only way I know how I can help people is talking about what I've gone through and how I've overcome it or what I'm working on doing to overcome it. So until next week, I hope you guys all stay safe and stay healthy and take care.